Now, I think most of us can definitely agree that the end of the sequel trilogy left a lot of fans still divided, even after what happened between, of course, J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy, and the whole George Lucas situation with Episode 9. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, we know that the sequels were really an up and down, an emotional roller coaster, so to speak, for the fandom and the entire community around the globe. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that, yes, Kathleen Kennedy, of course, is really beginning to shift and becoming more and more, I guess you could say, delicate based on what she has been doing with Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte and making all these different mistakes, we have also seen that there's a lot of other things happening behind closed doors with Skeleton Crew in specifics, of course. Now, the thing about Daisy Ridley, alright, what I like about her so much right now is how she's been a lot more talkative and direct with the fans, being very much more honest, and really kind of being more real with the community, kind of like how John Boyega and Oscar Isaac have been for a while now. And I gotta have a lot of respect for Boyega for really kind of just saying things how it is when it comes to Disney. Now, moving forward, alright, we know that Daisy Ridley has been teasing a lot of different things about her future with the Star Wars franchise, with the overall universe, and how there's a lot of things actually being worked on by John and Dave. So let's tap right into exactly what Daisy Ridley recently had to say about something specific related to Lucasfilm as a company, and it's not the best thing also when it also involves Kathleen Kennedy in the mix. So let's tap right into all of this. Now, on top of this, we know that Daisy Ridley, alright, has been very much, controversial when it comes to her character, Rey. Some fans like the character, some fans despise the character, but I digress. With actress Daisy Ridley becoming more, of course, direct with the fans as of late, she has also been teasing a couple of things to the fans over the past couple of months. Now, it's described that in a recent interview, Daisy Ridley went on to reveal something substantial related to Lucasfilm as a company by stating the following to the community. When I was working on the sequels, the thing that really bothered the cast the most, I believe, was how we were all vividly remembering, of course, that Kathy and those associated with her at the time absolutely restricted George Lucas from getting involved in one of the final scenes of Episode 9 in the long run for the Death Star sequence. There was a time when George was helping us with a big scene that he had planned and was working with JJ closely on, where Ben Solo was going to have tons of emotional dialogue with me as Rey. We actually partially shot the thing, and it was beautiful and served as an extension after I healed him after I gave him his wound. Where we both supposed, of course, to take off and go after the Emperor together, and this was an idea by George where both Ben and Rey were going to talk about their plan to take down Palpatine once and for all. So let me just stop right here for a second. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was a lot of Ben Solo scenes that were actually either filmed or partially filmed for The Rise of Skywalker, and a lot of which were deleted because of Kathleen Kennedy, including this one, and Daisy does confirm this. She goes into the whole studio drama about all of it. Now, say what you will about that moment where Ben Solo gets stabbed and he's getting healed by Rey. It is an emotional moment regardless, I see that. But what they were about to do here, I think, is even all the more superior. The fact that George wanted Ben and Rey to talk it out, to go over a plan to take down Palpatine once and for all, and to basically leave together off of the moon called Kef Bir, that's where they fight on the Death Star, by the way, and leave to the world of Exegol. But, of course, the only obstacle is that the whole entire, scene was going to actually evolve to this scramble on how Ben and Rey find another Wayfinder. Now, the thing about that, too, is that Kathleen Kennedy did not want this for specific reasons, and Daisy Ridley goes over all of this. So, we know that George Lucas really wanted Ben Solo to shine more as, like, a Skywalker, per se, or as a hero, and have more screen time in the film. And he got that to an extent in the final cut, but not all that much. So Daisy goes on to actually elaborate until Kennedy stepped in and said that this was not going to work and ran into some arguments with George and decided to cancel the scene altogether, which was a bummer, since I believed it was one of the most powerful moments in the sequels that could have been. Even JJ was upset that George's idea did not get past Kennedy at the time after she saw some of the test footage for the big moment in the third act of the movie. Now, here's the problem that lies with this, is that Kennedy has made it openly clear that she deleted so much footage that they could have created another film on its own for Star Wars. And even Chris Terrio said that there's so much deleted footage for Episode 9 that they could have easily made a Part 2. In fact, believe it or not, Terrio tried to convince Kennedy to make a Part 2 for Episode 9 to break the overall cycle of just releasing one film and make it into a two-parter, kind of like what they did with Harry Potter and other franchises out there. I believe The Hunger Games might have done that as well, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, having a Part 1 and Part 2, it could have worked. It could have absolutely worked, but for obvious reasons in 2020, it would not have actually worked to follow up a year later. And then, of course, throughout the next couple of years, they were focusing on television. So that was Kathleen Kennedy's call to disregard George's biggest scene that he was working on for Ben and Rey, and how he wanted their characters to basically kind of evolve and take down the Emperor once and for all. Now, obviously, I think that this would have been a very powerful moment. It's very, unfortunate that George did not get a say in the matter. The fact that Kathleen Kennedy called the shots and said, no, we're deleting this, we're getting rid of the scene altogether, don't even make it happen. And so it's really nothing new. I mean, we see this time and time again by Kathleen Kennedy, that she just does not care about George Lucas's work. She does not care about the Skywalkers. She does not care about the lore or the special, mythology or the mystical side of Star Wars. She doesn't really seem to really gravitate toward all of that, and gravitates only toward very stale, bland storytelling, right? So that's why I say, when you look at the sequels, and I've pointed this out many times, that from Episode 7 until 9, it has its good moments, but on a consistent basis, these movies do not run smoothly. They just don't. And that's the problem with Episode 9. You will notice that there's a lot of moments in there where it feels out of place, very strange. In fact, the opening of this film takes place on Mustafar, where Kylo Ren's taking down the cultists. They were supposed to actually follow up with a big Darth Vader castle scene. That was completely cut, and that's why it feels very strange when it cuts so fast out of that opener. So anyways, like I said, guys, there's a lot at work and play here by Daisy Ridley. We know that she's in the talks with John and Dave on returning for the post-Episode 9 series. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But anyways, guys, apart from all of this, drop a comment below, fill me in below what you guys have to say about this whole entire situation, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.